Hey, I am very excited because we are at the end of the biblical year. This is the last month in our Creator's calendar. And next month is going to be the first month of the biblical calendar, the first month in a year. So this is our last month. This is the last month in our Creator's calendar. Next month, March 28th, is going to be the first day of the year. So next month is the new year in our Creator's calendar. And I am feeling kind of guilty because I should have included this information. If you saw the new moon report, the monthly new moon report that I do put out, I should have reported this. I should have included this information for those of you who are still learning this, who are still kind of learning this for the first time. So I should have included this information, but unfortunately I did not. That's why I'm making this special presentation to just let you know that this current month right now is the last month in our Creator's calendar. This is the 12th month. Next month is the first month in our Creator's calendar, the first month of the year. And you remember that the first month of the year is the month that we observe the Passover. We observe the Passover in the first month of the year. So today is March 8th, just to give you an idea. Today is the Sabbath in this month is on Mondays. So what's going to happen is that we already celebrated our first Sabbath of this month a few days ago, 2 days ago, on March the 6th. So if you're following this, you know that that our Creator's Sabbath, the true biblical Sabbath for this month is in March. I say this month because I'm comparing the biblical calendar with the Gregorian calendar, because most of us, we live in this ridiculous, crazy world right now, and we have to deal with this ridiculous Gregorian calendar, which, we're not going to be doing it for long, because Yah said in Isaiah 66, verse 22 and verse 23, that in the kingdom, when Yeshua comes back, in the kingdom, we are going to be observing the new moon day, and we will be observing the Sabbath day. I'm looking forward. My hope is that I will make it and be part of those who will observe the new moon day and the Sabbath day. So until then, we have to deal with this crazy Gregorian calendar. That's why when I say, that the Sabbath is on Mondays in March, that's what I mean. But because the Sabbath doesn't really change. The Sabbath doesn't change, as you can see in this calendar, in this chart. The Sabbath is always on the 8th, on the 15th, 22nd, and the 29th. It doesn't change. There's no changes there. When you start comparing it with the Gregorian calendar, then it becomes, all confusion and all that. That's what you have with men. Okay. So this month right now, this 12th month, the last month in the biblical calendar, the Sabbath is on Mondays. So the 28th of March is going to be the new moon day. The last Sabbath of this month will be on the 27th of March. That's when the last Sabbath of this month will be. Now, the next day, the 28th of March, is a new moon day, and we will most likely have a 1-day new moon day. Last time, few days ago, we had a 2 days new moon day. So this coming new moon, we will most likely have a 1-day new moon day. March 28th. It's going to be on a Tuesday. March 28th. We'll have a 1-day new moon day. That day is the first day of the year. In the biblical year, that is the first day of the month and the first day of the year. So next month is the first month in the biblical calendar, in our Creator's calendar. Now, that's Tuesday, March 28th. Tuesday, March 28th is the new moon day. See, it's also the first day of the biblical calendar. And remember, you have to observe the new moon day. To find out how to observe the new moon day, read Nehemiah chapter 8. Nehemiah chapter 8 is where verse 1, verse 1 to verse 12. That's where you read about how the children of Israel observed the new moon day. If you read 1 Samuel chapter 20, you will also see that they observed the new moon day. And Amos chapter 8 verse 5, you see that they observed the new moon day. Even the follower of Yeshua in Colossians chapter 2, if you read Colossians chapter 2 verse 1 to verse 16, you will see that the early followers of Christ, Paul and they all observed the new moon day, because in Colossians chapter 16 in verse 1 to verse Colossians chapter 2 verse 1 to verse 16, Paul was encouraging them not to let anybody condemn them or judge them for observing the new moon day. And you will see that in verse 8. But then in verse 16, he mentioned the Sabbath days and the new moon day. So we are supposed to observe the new moon day, and that is coming up on March 28th. That new moon day is the first day of the month. Then 14 days after that, now I'm getting to the point of this presentation right now. 14 days after that will be the Passover. That's going to be the Passover. Very important day. Very, very important day. Because it reminds us of how our ancestors came out of Egypt, So that's going to be 14 days after March 28th. So that will be on April, the evening of April 10th. The evening of April 10. So the evening of April 10 is the Passover. The next day, which is a Sabbath day, the next day is going to be the first day of unleavened bread. And then we have to observe the day of unleavened bread for 7 days. So that's going to span from April 11th to April 18th. So, but on that Passover, all of this information, I'm still going to report this on the upcoming new moon report. I'm going to do a new moon report on March 28th by the will of Yah. If Yah wills and I have life, I have strength, I will do a new moon report on March 28th. I will still touch on all of this. So, but I'm doing this to let you know ahead of time that Passover is coming up, New Year is coming up, Passover is coming up. I should have done this on the other video. So but anyway, so there's going to be Passover coming up on March, the evening of March, Gregorian calendar, April 10, night of April 10. The next day is the Sabbath day. That next day is also the first day of unleavened bread. And then we observe the unleavened bread for 7 days. So that's going to go from March 11 to April 11 to April 18. So the Passover is on April 10. The evening of April 10 is the Passover. If you have a job and you work night shift, please don't work on April 10. The evening of April 10. Do not work. Try and stay indoor on the evening of April 10. Try and stay indoor. Do not work. Don't go to work on the night of April 10 for those that work night shift. And then the next day, of course, is the Sabbath day. So it's going to be a long Sabbath for you because you will stay indoor on the evening of April 10, and then you stay indoor on the Sabbath day, and then you observe the Sabbath on April 11th. That begins the day of unleavened bread. That's the first day of unleavened bread. We're not supposed to go anywhere. We're supposed to have a Sabbath. It's a holy convocation, and then that happens then the next day you can go back to work on April 12th. You can go back to work, but we will be on a feasting mode because that day of Feast of Unleavened Bread goes for 7 days. You can still go to work in between. That's 7 days. You can still go to work, but on the 8th, 7 days after that, 7 days from April 11, which is April 18, which is also a Sabbath day, then you observe a holy convocation again. So another important thing is that you cannot have leaven any leaven in your house. You know, get rid of breads and stuff like that. Anything that have leaven in it, you have to totally clean your house and get rid of anything that, any bread and stuff like that. You can only have a unleavened bread or something like that, you know. So but just read, let's get to the scriptures. Read Leviticus 23 verse 4 to verse 8. That's where you're going to read. You're going to see this, Leviticus 23 from verse 4. That's where you're going to read about, you know, about the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread. You will also read about it in Exodus chapter 13. So in Exodus chapter 13, verse 3 to verse 10, basically. In Exodus chapter 13, verse 3 to verse 10. That's where you're going. Please read it so that you can see what Yah says about what he said about this and everything. So read Leviticus 23, from verse 4 to verse 8, and Exodus chapter 13 from verse 3 to verse 10. That's where you're going to read about this. And then what you do about that unleavened bread. Some people do make that bread because we're supposed to eat it for 7 days. I mean, you can still eat other food, but you eat, you know, you eat that, you eat that, you know, you eat unleavened bread for 7 days. Some people do make this. If you look around on YouTube, you will see some videos of how to make it. It's not that difficult, actually. If you look below this video, you will see a link that will show you how to make that bread. Okay, I'm going to do that. Look below this video. You will see some links that will show you how to make that bread. And then you can also buy it from the store. If you are not in a position to be able to make it in your oven, in your house or something, if you can't make it, you can also buy it from the store. There are some grocery stores that do sell it. I may not be able to put the link under this video, but this is what it looks like. This is what, if you're going to go to your grocery store to look for that unleavened bread, this is what the picture looks like. This is what you're going to be looking for at the grocery store. They call it crackers, but it's the same thing. It's meant for Passover. Some people will call it crackers. This is what it looks like. This is what the picture looks like. And you have to buy it ahead of time. That's another thing, because I remember last year when I tried to buy it, it's cleaned out, like it's gone from the store, because a lot of people are buying it. Believe it or not, a lot of people are observing the Passover. A lot of people are observing the Passover. So if you have to get these things, you have to buy it ahead of time, because sometimes by the time you get to that shelf, it's gone. It's gone, like gone. So you have to buy it ahead of time if you're going to buy it from the store. If you're going to make it at home, then you look below this video and you see how to make it. You know, you watch a video on how to make that bread. So that's what's coming up next month. This is the last month of the year, of Yah's year, of the biblical year. Next month, starting from March 28th, is the beginning of the new year. We should be excited. Of course, this information I'm making this information for those who truly loves Yah and those who truly cares about what Yah, cares about his word, about the scriptures, So what we're basically doing right now, we are just part of the first people who are fortunate to know about these things. Eventually, the rest of the world is going to come along, and those who refuse to come along, they will be destroyed. Yah will destroy them, because it's either Yah's way or no way. So right now, he is just keeping quiet and giving people a chance to come to their senses and repent from breaking his laws. But unfortunately, most people will not accept it. Most people will not accept that grace period. But at some point, that grace period is going to close, and at that point, it will be too late. So I'm going to encourage you to be strong, be strong. Remember what Yeshua said. Remember what Yeshua said in Matthew chapter 7, verse 13 and verse 14. please read Matthew chapter 7, verse 13 and verse 14. He talks about, how narrow is the way. And he talks about how very few, very, very few will find the right way. And very few will even be willing to travel on the right way that actually leads to life. Most people will choose to go on the wrong way. So this journey is not going to be easy. This journey is not easy. Paul said in Philippians 2:12, he says, "Work out your own salvation." Work out your own salvation. And Yeshua said in Matthew 5:10 that blessed are you when you are persecuted for righteousness. So this is not going to be easy. It's not an easy walk. Why? Because we are living among people who don't want to keep the Torah. So there's going to be a lot of persecutions. There's going to be a lot of I tell people, if you want to walk on this journey, you have to be ready to be crazy. You have to be ready to be crazy, because your family members will think you're crazy. People around you will think you're crazy. Everyone will think you're crazy, because to them, this is, some people will say that you're in a cult. If you're willing to obey Yah, if you're willing to do what Yah says, if you're willing to keep his word, prepare to be considered to be crazy. I mean, look at the prophet. Look at the prophets. Some of them was, Yah told them to walk around walk around naked. So look at Noah. I mean, imagine Noah living in this generation. He will be a laughing stock, building a boat in a dry land. People will think that he has lost his mind, and his family will be a laughing stock. So you see, the world don't understand the ways of Yah, and frankly, the world don't give a damn. They don't give a damn what Yah has to say. But him being a loving God, loving Father, loving Creator, he is giving us a chance to repent. Look at what he told the Israelites in Deuteronomy 28. Here are the blessings and here are the curses. Choose. And of course, our ancestors, they chose to disobey, and today we are living under the consequences. But just like Moses said in Deuteronomy chapter 4, it talks about the descendant of the Israelite, how when they are living in the last days, when they repent and turn to Yah with all their heart and with all their soul, then Yah will turn back and forgive their sins, and then he will. So we are the one that is supposed to make the first move. Okay, we are supposed to make the first move by repenting from breaking the law and beginning to keep the law, and that's what this is all about. But that grace period will not last forever. Eventually, Yah is going to shut the door, and so that's basically it. The Passover, the New Year is coming up. The Passover is coming up. Be strong. The whole point of what I'm trying to say is for you to be strong. Be strong in this walk. Be strong. Eventually, Yeshua and Yah will reward you. Remember what Yeshua said in Revelation chapter 3, verse 10. Revelation 3:10. Remember what he said. So you have to be strong. You have to be strong. Eventually, he will reward you. Eventually, this will pay off. So the New Year is coming up. The Passover is coming up all next month, starting from March 28th. That's going to be the new moon day. And that new moon day brings us into the new year of our Creator's calendar. And then on that evening, let me also add that on that evening of the Passover, that will be April the 10th, the night of April 10. Of course, that's going to be the second Sabbath of the month. The moon will be 100% full. Remember that he said that the Passover is on the night of the 14th, going into the 15th. So the moon will be 100% full, which makes sense because that was when the Israelites came out of Egypt. So the moon was 100% full, so that that's going to happen. If you don't have the app, the moon app that I always talk about, I have no links to the owner of the app. I have no idea who created the app. It's just that I spend so much time trying to find the right app. And when I found it, I downloaded it. It's a very good app. I encourage you to download it. The link is below this video. Download that app because it helps you to see what the moon is doing. So if your area happens to have a, if there's a cloud coverage and you couldn't see the moon and stuff like that, you can look on that app. So look at below this video and download the app. It's for Android phone. I will continue. I don't have an iPhone, but I will try to find the best app for iPhone, for those of you that have iPhones. And then also there's a great website called Truth of Yahweh. Again, I have no link to the owner of this website. I have no link. I've never spoken to them. I have no links, but it's a good website because that website is a public website where it's a website for public service where people from different parts of the world, when they see the moon on the new moon day, they usually report to the owner of the website, and then he puts the information. So again, if in your area, if you're not able to see the moon, you can go to Truth of Yahweh. The link is also under this video, and then you will see if people saw the moon or not. This is for the new moon day, So it's a very good website. And then also feel free to contact me. Feel free to call me, feel free to text me, feel free to email me. You can also use my email and search on Skype, and you will find me on Skype. So feel free to communicate with me if you have any question, or if you want to discuss this and stuff like that. Feel free to contact me. I'm basically here to help as much as I can. So I want to thank you for watching this presentation, and then look forward to the new moon report that will be coming up on March the 28th. If there is anything, I will try to update some of this information on that new moon report. All right, thank you so much for watching, and may Yah bless you as you continue to do His will.